Now that all of the nationwide race riots have cured the coronavirus, we have decided to celebrate this public health advancement by having our first ever in this studio, in-studio guest, Steve Deace, the host of the Steve Deace Show. Steve, should we shake hands? I don't know if this is a felony to shake hands.
We can absolutely shake hands.
All right.
Yes.
If I get it, it's on you.
Especially because I want to warn future in-studio guests that I am sitting on an OSHA violation right now. All right? So I'm not normally this stiff, but I am afraid to move or to turn.
This is the platform that you are on. Is about 4 inches wide.
I feel like I need to look at you and say, we are from France. Like, I feel like I cannot move. I'm a conehead.
No, that's right.
Yes.
So you have been calling this for a little while now. This maybe coronavirus is being a little overhyped. Maybe the public health genius experts, the exalted Dr. Fauci, maybe this is all being oversold a little bit. The events of the past couple weeks, I don't want to say we told you so. They seem to vindicate the people who have been skeptical.
So back in mid-March, Michael, I wrote a piece for The Blaze, and the point of the piece was that we needed to separate the pathology of the virus from the psychology of the public policy. That, we deal with ailments all of the time. The question is, does the macro threat to a culture, does it rise to the level of threatening really the things that culture is the most about? Its freedom, its economy, its ability to maximize its potential. How about the simple things? I mean, hugging and kissing my grandma, having the kids, think of all the kids that didn't get a prom. Think of all the weddings that aren't happening, the graduation parties. We're not, as a species, we're not a survival rate. Those events that we just wiped out this year are what make life worth living. And so if we're going to take all of those things away, we better make dang sure that the data we have indicates that it did. And from the very beginning, the data did not clearly say that this was the right path. To be as fair as I can be, that maybe it was murky. And maybe if you want to say we did this for the first 15 days to flatten the curve, to make sure, I wouldn't even have done that based on the data. I mean, if you go
but you could be open to it.
But I can understand why when a virus mutates from animal to animal to animal to human, and we have been studying coronaviruses for decades, but we've not seen a phenomenon like that. I can see then that's what novel coronavirus means. Does that mean that the way that this infects is different? The way that this attacks is different? So I can understand why you wanted to err on the side of caution. All right, but if you go back and read what Dr. John Ioannidis wrote at Stanford University in his peer-reviewed white paper around March the 17th, the infection rates, all the numbers that are in there, and he's one of the heads of their population health department over there.
Jay Bhattacharya, also at Stanford, was doing great work on this early on.
Everything that John put in his white paper, I mean, he called like every stat that we now have when he originally said this was not the way to go. And I think, I've got, as I know you do, I've got friends of mine that are members of the U.S. Senate. I got people I know that are members of Congress. And I'm already texting them, and I'm already telling them right now, we need to have like a Nuremberg-like tribunal. And I mean it. Because if we've kind of shown our rear end here as a people, that you can scare us enough and we'll just shut our economy and our way of life down. I mean, if you're China right now, why wouldn't you just say, oh guys, we had Wuhan luck again right before the Christmas shopping season and crush the fourth quarter of the American economy while you're at it.
You brought up 2 very important words here, which I think is the key to understanding this, not just as a matter of science, but as a matter of history and politics. And those words are choice and culture. We make choices. I mean, that's what politics is, right? Is we evaluate different problems. Do we want a little more justice or a little more mercy? Do we want a little more freedom? Do we want a little more equality, right? These are eternal questions, and that's why our republic was set up this way. We persuade our fellow citizens, we pass laws, and that is the exalted political freedom that we have for ourselves. And then the left came in here, and the progressives and the scientists with a capital S, and they said, as they have been saying since Karl Marx, no. There is a science to politics. There is a science to history. There is only one right answer. You little people can't debate this at all. Just listen to the man in the lab coat. He will tell you how to live your life. Now it's been exposed because these scientists who are supposed to give us the perfect answer have been going back and forth. Wear the mask, don't wear the mask. It spreads on tables, it doesn't spread on tables. It's spread by asymptomatic people, it's not spread by asymptomatic people. What is the effect of this going to be on our politics? Because we've had epidemics before. Right. We had the Spanish flu was far worse.
Had the Hong Kong flu.
We had the Hong Kong flu. But this political reaction, that's the only thing that's been unique.
Yes, and that's why we have to have a tribunal. because the reason why is we have to. If you go back and read what Anthony Fauci, Pope Fauci, the preeminent wise,
the exalted,
yes,
peace be upon him.
Yes, if you read what he wrote in the New England Journal of Medicine on February the 28th. And he said, if you want to know where the talking point, if your audience wants to know, because I mean, we've been told that this came from QAnon and from MAGA Reddit forums. The talking point that this is just a bad flu season came from the February 28th edition of the New England Journal of Medicine.
Right.
Anthony Fauci wrote those words. But then 11 days later now, and by the way, if you go back and look at what he wrote in the New England Journal of Medicine on February 28th, all of the numbers that he had in there are exactly correct. Everything, all the case fatality rates, that it's slightly worse than a bad flu season, all of that stuff proved to be correct in the end. But then 11 days later, he went before Congress and said this is 10 times worse than the flu. And that testimony occurred on March 11th, and that's when the country began going into widespread lockdown. We need to know what changed from February 28th to March 11th.
Right.
Who did he speak to? What piece of data did he acquire that we are not privy to? Unfortunately, our media sucks.
Yeah.
And they just want to play. They want to play sophomore games. If they could really ask critical questions of the Trump task force that are substantive, but they're not interested in substance. And so this is just gotcha every single day. Right. But we need to know what changed from February 28th to March 11th. What did he learn? And here's the other question we have to know. I keep like a personal journal in my mind. When I get to heaven, these are the questions I need to ask Jesus. Otherwise, I will not be able to I'll not be able to rest.
You'll be restless in heaven. What are the questions?
I need to know. And here's the latest one.
Yeah.
How come when did Oxford, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, Rockefeller University, these are 4 of the greatest research institutions we have in America. Well, Oxford's in the UK. But when did they become podunk JUCOs? When did the guy who founded the European Union's Infectious Disease Center, and who oversaw Sweden's effort, when did he become a flat Earth right-winger?
Because Sweden didn't lock down. Everyone else locked down, but not Sweden.
Right, and all these countries that locked down, we're the slowest country to reopen all over the industrialized world.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Israel originally imposed the worst lockdown in the industrialized world, and then they became Sweden in about 30 days. Yeah. So we need to know. We're always told, trust the experts. Well, which ones? Because when I first started challenging the narrative here, I really did anticipate, because of my political background, that this was going to be a derivative of the global warming debate. That a bunch of confirmation bias versus right-wingers, right? I was shocked to see the amount of esteemed academics from elite universities all over the world. I mean, Oxford came out a few days after the Imperial College survey and said, this is BS, we should not go by this.
And the Imperial College survey was the one that basically shut the world down.
That was the original one that did.
But even recently, you've had the guy who was behind that study, Neil Ferguson in the UK, who violated his own lockdown, by the way, to sleep with his mistress. That's a side story.
Yeah.
But you had him come out and admit that Sweden, which did not lock down, was basically just as successful at suppressing the virus as the UK, which did lock down.
Right. And then if most Americans had a choice to go to either Stanford or the University of Washington, they're going to go to Stanford. The University of Washington, I'm sure, is a fine school, but it's one of those places you go to when you cannot get into Stanford, right? So can someone explain to me why we allowed the IHME model, which it was wrong every step of the way, but it was taken as gospel by Debbie Birx and Anthony Fauci. That's the model. Then Imperial College is what originally shut the world down. We extended our lockdown based on the IHME models of hospitalizations, and the system was going to be overrun if we didn't do this. Right. They've been wrong every step of the way. And there were tons of academics, even here in the United States, who challenged that model. Well, and yet, I don't understand why no one at the White House was interested in what they had to say.
You know, you make such a great point on the universities, because I would push back a little bit and say some of our most elite universities now are the ones that seem to have gone the craziest. But they've all gone the craziest in the direction of the left. So the fact that you had some of these elite universities questioning the left-wing political narrative here, that should have raised some bells. And I think the key here, I don't think you need to be a crazy conspiracy theorist to realize that there is a political dimension to public health officials.
No question.
And you just saw, I mean, they gave it away last week, which is you saw I think it was, 1,200 or more public health officials who signed to a letter, and they said, look,
riots are great.
The riots are great.
Yeah.
As long as you're rioting for the left, then that's good. That actually helps suppress coronavirus.
Right.
And in the same letter, they said, if you protest peacefully against the lockdowns, that's going to spread the coronavirus. I mean, it was absurd on its face, but what they admitted was, this is not about medical science. This is about politics.
If you look at the reaction or the response that we were told we had to take in response to this, the entire thing, if we did a rundown of it, it would be the proto version of the Green New Deal, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Government decides what businesses are essential or not essential. So apparently, if you're a family-owned business anywhere in America, you are not capable of sanitizing your workplace. Only Lowe's, Home Depot, Costco, massive big box stores, they are capable of doing it, but you have a family business, you're not, right? So government decides what businesses are essential or not essential, where you get to travel and by what method, and with how many people and with whom. I mean, there was even a part, it was, you know that scene in Avengers Endgame? When Captain America shows up in the 5 years after the snap, and he shows up and he says to Black Widow, I know, hey, no human beings, there's less pollution in the Hudson. I can see whales in there. I cannot believe it. It actually happened in real life. They started writing articles about how, hey, without people doing anything, it's like this is great for the environment, and we're seeing what's going on in the oceans better. It was very clear that for 5 minutes maybe, and I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt when I say that, for 5 minutes this was about, oh crap, this virus mutated in ways we've not seen a SARS coronavirus do.
Uncharted territory.
Yeah, so we're not sure what we're doing here, okay? But then, of course, the reason I only give them 5 minutes is the nations that were closest to China, Japan, South Korea, they did not do what we did. They deal with these sorts of outbreaks all the time. They didn't do a mass lockdown, right? Why didn't we listen to them? But 5 minutes later, it was very clear that this became about how can I use this virus to advance my agenda? And it's the same story you see now with the race riots. For 5 minutes, this was about what happened to George Floyd.
Right.
And the rest of the time, this has been about how can I use this to advance a racialist agenda?